up, allies? We're back with our Collector's Corner. You seem a little disappointed. I don't know. This is a great episode. This is fantastic.
Talk about self-serving fan service for you and whoever else wants. Oh, you know exactly what we're going to do this time.
I know exactly what we're going to do. It's going to be amazing.
Amazing to you and possibly 400,000 or 500,000 people out there, but still amazing to you nonetheless.
It should be amazing to you, too, because what we're going to do is we're going to talk about one of the most beloved characters of Masters of the Universe.
He-Man.
What? No. No,
He-Man.
No, we're going to talk about Mossman.
Who?
For those of you who collect Masters of the Universe, you are familiar with the character Mossman. Now, a little background on this. Most people are familiar with Beastman.
Yes.
The toy of Beastman is essentially the toy of Mossman. I mean, they're basically the same plastic parts, the same toy, and everything else.
The only difference being...
Well, there are two differences. Well, three, really. One is that it did not come with the number of accessories that Beastman came with. It didn't have armor of any kind or anything of the sort.
Beastman was also orange.
Yeah, the second thing is, of course, the color, obviously, is different. And then we also had the element of the magical powers, so to speak, which involved putting flock onto him and giving him a scent of pine. And that became Mossman, who then, of course, had an arch nemesis in Stinkor, who just stunk the place up. When you got a Mossman as a kid, now, you'll have to excuse this, I kept the weapons at home, but...
Now, not for nothing, I did have a Mossman, and I did enjoy playing with the Mossman, because I got Mossman the same time as I got Battle Bones. Now,
Oh, yeah.
If you're familiar with Battle Bones was this character, like... It's kind of like a carrying case for your action
Pretty much,
figure.
And you basically connected these guys into the ribs, and you could carry a lot of them.
And the sad part is when you went to go, like, after 4 or 5 uses of putting the character in, taking the character out, the ribs broke.
Well, they're really fragile today because of the plastic and everything. You have to be really careful if you have a Battle Bones today. But this is actually my Mossman from when I was a kid. Now, the important thing, and the reason, we're joking around, but the reason that Mossman is... important to me is this was my very, very first Masters of the Universe figure. My grandmother bought this for me at Woolworths on a Saturday afternoon. I remember this distinctly. And I've had it all these years. And if you buy or you have a loose Mossman that was well loved and well played with the way this one is, there's a couple things that happen. The first thing is that it tends to get fuzzies and other sorts of detritus and whatnot that gets adhered to the flocking and doesn't really want to come off. It sticks there and you've got to try and pick it off, and I've done as good as I can with this guy.
And if you see here, Mossman looks like he's got... Oh, I'm good. Oh, jeez.
He has an advanced stage of mange.
Yes. He started to... it looks like he might have gotten into a car accident, possibly some minor brain damage.
Yeah, what has happened over time, again, just from this sort of thing and touching him, is that the flock starts to get matted down or comes off. So you have areas that are no longer flocked, and that sort of thing. Here you can actually see on the shoulder on mine, you can see the green plastic underneath. And in between that, the actual adhesive that they used was black. And so in certain areas where it started to thin, you can see the black.
You can see it really well on his thigh right there.
Yeah, you can see it there. On his head, you can really see it as well on the back here. So he's been well loved.
Very much so.
And I would never ever alter this Mossman for any reason. He's my childhood Mossman, and he's special to me.
And one thing you and I have in common is you could offer us, something brand new, fresh out of the box from the 1980s. It doesn't matter. We want ours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we spent the time playing with it.
Now, this is a better example of a Mossman that was obviously kept in better shape than mine. And as you can see, he doesn't have near the mange, but yet it's still there.
He wasn't played with as much as that one.
No, but you can see in this case something really gouged him here and took everything off. And, even still... So these are two different examples, one actually better than the other. And this is what you run into with loose Mossmen, is that finding a mint one is pretty well impossible unless you find it in the package. And it's just because of what they were made. And neither of these smell like pine anymore because it just, over time, that just...
You mean the pine smell didn't stick around for 30 years?
No, well, it stuck around for quite a while, believe it or not, but eventually it does go away, and that's just the way it is. So, when we were getting ready to start this, I had a thought, which was, is there any way to repair these guys or bring them back to life? And guess what? There is, and we're going to talk about it. And what I did was, I first went out and I bought a Mossman that was in really, really bad shape. And I want to point that out because I know a lot of collectors get real excitable about the idea of somebody modifying a figure or anything like that. But folks, trust me, this thing was a $3 Mossman. It was in really, really poor... I think you were with me when I bought it, as a matter of fact. It was in really poor shape. And what I did was I went out and I got some chemicals to dissolve all of this stuff off of him. In this case, I used acetone. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with acetone, it's the active ingredient in nail polish remover. It's very, very strong. If you're going to try this, be very, very cautious with it. Make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. What I did was I used that to take the original flocking and adhesive off. But in the process, I learned a little something, learned from my mistake. These guys, they were made out of different plastics. The legs, the arms are one plastic. The head is a rubber. It's not really plastic at all per se. And then the torso and waist is out of a different plastic than the arms and the legs are. So what
Is this a $3 one?
No, this one was I believe about $18.
Okay.
And when I did it on the Mossman that I reflocked, the arms and legs came perfectly spotless clean. The acetone took it off, didn't hurt them. The head the same way. But on this body, it will dissolve the plastic that this body is. So if you're going to use it, I would suggest using a different remover in order to attack the torso, because if you do, it starts to eat away at the plastic. Now, in my case, I was okay because, again, it was a $3 Mossman. But the other reason I was okay was because I stopped right away when I saw what was going on, and was able to just salvage the body. It was fine, especially because I wasn't concerned about detail on the body. You were about to flock it anyway, so you were going to be okay. And what the flock? Once I got them clean, it was now time to repaint them, because what happens is the acetone obviously cuts through the paint. So I repainted the face, and then of course the waist and everything, and the little fuzzy underwear I repainted. I did it in a different color scheme because I wanted to make sure that for no reason could this ever be thought to be original. If it would ever get out of my hands and into somebody else's, nobody could pass it off as a mint toy or whatever. After that, all that was left to do was flock this guy.
Boy, that guy's really loose.
He is. All that was left to do was flock them, and basically the way you do that is with what is known as a static grass machine. Now, for those of you who work on train sets, you'll be familiar with this process. It is basically what looks like a long flashlight with a plastic container on the end. And that container has a lid that has a metal screen in it. You load the 2mm flock, which is what this is on him, into there, and there's an electrode that's touching that metal screen. There's another one that hangs off the other side, and using the electricity, it creates a static charge. And what that allows to happen is, as the flock is falling on this guy, it causes the flock to stand straight out from the adhesive, which is what you want. So instead of looking matted down, it looks like it should where it's growing out of his body. And that's why they use it on train sets, because it allows the grass to stand up and look like it's grass, which makes the set look really, really fantastic. The scent, obviously we need an adhesive. What I did was I took Mod Podge, and I took a container of it and I mixed it with about 2 ounces of a really concentrated pine scent. And you put all that together, and what you end up with,
would you look at that,
is a brand spanking new looking fancy reflocked and rescented Mossman. And he looks fantastic. You'll notice that the paint scheme I did for the face, for those of you who are collectors and you are familiar with the Masters of the Universe Classics line, you know that a secondary head came with Mossman that had these green glowing eyes. I put those on as opposed to the original eyes just to set them off a little differently. And if you take a whiff, you can smell that wonderful pine scent.
I'm being forced to sniff. Come here, man.
Sniff my
Come here,
Mossman.
man.
That's right.
Oh. Yeah!
No, not like that.
Oh,
no,
I'm sorry.
But
That's another After Dark episode.
Absolutely. That's a way After Dark episode. But overall,
that's an early morning episode.
Yeah, overall, just a really fantastic thing. Now, the thing about this, and one of the reasons I want
actually, and you would be surprised, he does smell like pine.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to point out about this is not the only figure that you could do this with. Now, certainly in the Masters of the Universe line it is, but a lot of people remember the old G.I. Joe or Action Man figures that were like the 12-inch figures.
Yes.
They had hair, beards. Mm-hmm. It is the identical process that I used to reflock him to put that back on.
Oh, wow.
So if you watch this, you now know how to do that as well. Those flocking machines, or the static grass machine as I called it, they're readily available online. You can get them on eBay. They go from $29.99 on up. Some people build them themselves because they're very easy to build. I recommend getting one and using it. I've actually thought about flocking a few other characters. We're starting to flock the little fuzzy underwear just to, see how it would look. I haven't done it yet, but overall,
you are very ambitious.
Well, it was. I'm very pleased with the way he turned out.
I'm pleased with how he turned out too. It means that in moving forward, we have some model building skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, working on trains and so forth has helped me over the years to learn a lot of these skills. And again, because it was such a beloved character, I'm so glad they have a really, really nice one that's in great shape. And much for the same reason, the paint is different. You'll notice that this is a little bit lighter than the flock on these guys. And I did that on purpose in order to make sure, yet again, that no one could mistake it for an original figure. But there you are, folks. That is how to do it. If you want to reflock or rescent your Moss Man, now you know how.
I guess that's all we have for right now.
It is all we have for right now.
You know what this is missing, though?
What do
you know what this is missing?
It's not missing anything.
Oh, yes, it is.
Oh, not
yes,
no,
it
why?
is. Yes, it is. Okay, I guess it's not missing anything.
You're darn right. It's not missing anything. Screw the Hogan. Iron Sheik. We gotta do it. We gotta do it. It's a habit.
Yeah, there you go.
1, 2.
All right.
Moss Man is victorious.
Hang on.
Oh, we want to do. Oh, the reflock.
There you go.
1, 2, 3.
All right,
Outstanding.
All right. And now we got to get yours over.
Oh, okay.
I'll let you do it.
Hang on. Wait a second. If we're gonna do this,
you want to do it right?
Hang on.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
With the elbow drop.
Yeah. 2, 3. That's right. Hogan's
done and done.
Defeated 3 times in one episode by the Moss Man triplets.
By the Moss Men.
Moss Men.
Ah,
Yes.
you like what I did there?
Absolutely. You know what? For Larry, this is Jim. We'll see you next time.